Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, young boys and girls. We are very excited to have you on board on another episode of the Builder Stripes Tech Forward Talks. As a matter of fact, this is the last episode of the year. How incredible! We are so excited about this particular episode. It has been 12 incredible episodes. Started out in January, and as you know, if you're very used to this webinar, you know that this is an opportunity for us at Builder Stripe to continue to educate our community, to continue to share timely knowledge. Okay, because what we do is we get professionals and we get them to share very timely knowledge with you. And we are very excited to have you once again with us on this episode. And the final episode is titled Designing Digital Experiences. And personally, I'm very excited to hear from our guest of the day. I'll take a moment to tell you who we are. Okay, so if you don't know, Builder Stripe is a tech community that started out in Qatar, but we have operations across MENA Africa, across MENA. Okay, that's the Middle East and Northern Africa. For us at Builder Stripe is a tech community, and our goal is to make sure people connect with each other, collaborate on the different projects that they are working on. Personally, we believe that when people meet each other, great things happen. And we have seen so many of those great things happen from our virtual events to our in-person events. And we can't wait to do more exciting stuff in the coming year. One thing we like to do is we like to hear from our audiences. So we'd like to hear, tell us where you're watching from in the comment section. We want to hear from you. Are you watching from Qatar? Are you watching from Africa? Are you watching from where is it that you're watching from? We would like to know. We would like to say hi and engage with you. Webinar today topic is designing digital experiences, and we have an amazing guest that will be featuring today. Her name is Dania Khaled, and I'm very, very excited about having her on board today. Hey, we have one of our guests. One of our guests is Nishola. Nishola says he's watching from Lagos, Nigeria. So good to see you, Nishola. Hey, we have Nicole. Hi, Nicole. Nicole is a creative director. Nicole is watching from Qatar. Hi, Nicole. It's good to see you live here with us. Come on, guys, let's hear. Where are you watching from? Tell us where you're watching from. We have Temi Tokbe Adekoye. Hi, Temi from my LinkedIn. Temi is watching from Doha. So good to see you, Temi. I'd like to hear from you. Where else are you watching from? Where are you watching from? So Dania and I have an idea of who you are and where you're watching from. It's so good to see you all today. It's so happy to have you here. Designing digital experiences with Dania. I'm very excited to have Dania here. Dania is going to tell us more about herself, but she has incredible experience mentoring startups in Qatar, mentoring startups across the region, even. And this is very special. We have Adjiri Mafupe. Adjiri is watching from Qatar. So good to see you, Adjiri. So if you're just tuning in, we want to hear where you're watching from. Tell us where you are watching from. Designing digital experiences that end users trust. Now, guys, we're about to get into this segment. One thing I need you to do, I need you to go to your stories, take a screenshot of this. If you're watching on your laptop, snap with your phone. If you're watching on your phone, take a screenshot, share to your stories, and share the link of this Instagram, of this YouTube. So the YouTube link that you're watching with, share to your stories on your WhatsApp and your Instagram. Tell your friends to join in now. We're about to take off. Dania is about to share incredible insights with us. They do not want to miss that, guys. Let's get our numbers up. And I'll be bringing on our guest for today, the amazing Dania. Hello, Dania. How are you doing today? Dania, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. How are you? Everything's
I'm
good on
very
my
well. That's good. It's great to see you. How are you enjoying the season or the holiday? Do you have any?
side. It's really nice. I'm enjoying the weather. It's been great. The weather has been beautiful here in Qatar, so I've been going for walks every day.
That's incredible, very exciting. So, as our tradition allows us, or as it's in our tradition, we'd like to hear. Tell us a fun fact about you, something we have never seen online, something we wouldn't even know by seeing you. Tell us.
Well, I don't know what it's never been seen. It has happened many times in history, but I do love whitewater rafting. When I get a chance to go to Canada, I go whitewater rafting in the Ottawa River, and it's about a 5 hour trip in very choppy waters down the river. And you have to do some cliff jumping as well. So you have to be a very strong and very brave swimmer to do things like that.
Wow, that's exciting. That's interesting. For people who do not know how to enjoy water sports, I think that's a very scary thing. But
It
that's
is very
exciting.
scary. It was very scary the first time.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Incredible. It's good to know this fun fact. We're very excited about the topic that we have today, designing digital experiences that aim users' trust. So, very quickly, I'd like to start. All right. Tell us as simply as you can and as straight to the point as you can, for someone who is just like curious about tech, what does it mean, or what does digital experiences mean?
Digital experiences means your user journey. When you log onto a platform until you get to the destination, what that whole journey means and how it feels to the user. If it's smooth, if it's seamless, if it retains you as a user, if you want to come back often, if it has friction, if it's difficult, all of that, designing that whole journey and the whole experience of the second you decide to go on the application on the platform till the minute you're out of the platform, how that whole experience feels to you is basically designed and has a lot of science behind it.
Incredible. That I cannot wait to dive straight into this. So, our first question of the day. Okay, I just even realized, or that reminds me. I think before we get into the session, we have to hear, you have to tell us about yourself. Tell us about your experiences, some of the incredible work you've done around UI, UX, digital experiences. Would like to hear a little more about you.
Okay, so I'm Dania Khaled. I'm a user experience designer, and I work with UX and UI. I understand the whole user journey, user habits. I have to study the psychology of how muscle memory works and how we can make a user journey a lot smoother depending on what kind of application or platform it is. Even in content, this applies. So if you're creating content of any kind, this kind of understanding also applies. I've worked with startups as a mentor for about 10 years now in Qatar, across health, transport, education, academia, research, in many areas. And every area would have require a different user behavior, different user UX, UI design. So you really have to be vigilant of what your user wants and what your user behavior is and their expectations. And that's the most important thing, because user expectation, if you fail on that, it could be fatal to your platform.
That's very incredible. It's great to hear about some of the incredible things you've done. We have a guest. We have Precious. Precious is watching from Lagos, Nigeria, or from Nigeria. Hi, Precious. How are you doing? It's good to have you join us today. Now, let's dive deep into these questions. Our first question for you today is, what exactly is UI and UX, and what is the difference between them?
So, user interface design and user experience design are two very different things. User interface design focuses on color, branding, sometimes button behavior, how things look on a page. Does it reflect the brand very well? But user experience design is basically how the functionality of the application is and how the buttons are how the solution is working overall. It looks into doing thorough research, quality assurance. It tries to find the best path to the user's destination, depending on what kind of application it is. So, if it's a service based app or if it's an engagement based app, the user experience research and design would be completely different, because, for one, we're trying to get the user to their destination out of the app in the service based app as fast as possible. And in the other one, we're trying to keep them in the app, stuck in the app, and have user stickiness, come back to the app several times a day as much as possible. And that's what differentiates the success between both. So it is very different, and understanding those differences is very critical. You do have people who have worked with both and have experience in both. I've personally worked in both areas. So it's very important to understand the difference between them, because there are some people who are just UI and just UX, and they don't come together. So both roles are extremely critical. User experience design, I would say, is one of the most underrated uh, underrated assets in any tech platform, like in the world, because a lot of people don't understand the work that they do behind the scenes. It is very critical, their kind of work, and it could be the thing that differentiates them from their competitors if they have a smooth user journey.
All right, this is very insightful. Right now, this leads me to our next question for you. Right now, when it comes to designing digital products, okay, now we know that most times, most of the people that we have are people who are just starting out their ideas or building their startups for the first time. They don't know much. Maybe they have a very small team, and most times people are just thinking about the problem and how they can solve it. So this leads us to our next question. Does every digital product actually need UI and UX, or is it just only for like big platforms like the Instagram, TikTok? Tell us.
I would say if you want it to be a powerful platform, yes, you would need UX is very critical. UI can kind of come with a developer. If they have enough experience, they can do the UI part if they have an understanding for the brand, and you can like convey what the brand is all about to them. But UX is something very critical to understand, and I understand that a lot of first time founders won't have the budget for it or the understanding of how critical it is. And a lot of founders, tech people would think of the destination, not so much the journey. But what this does is focuses on the journey. Now, the problem is if you don't have a smooth journey, your users are never going to get to the destination. 85% of the time, people bounce off the entire application and the whole platform before they even get to the destination. So it is very critical to have a user journey that keeps them on board until they get to the end.
Okay, that's very insightful. So speaking of user experience, which is UX, okay? Now, is user experience, which is UX, a one size fits all approach, or should different types of products follow different design rules? How does this work?
I wouldn't say no. It's not a one size fits all at all. Every product, every type of platform has a completely different user journey. It has different goals. It has different metrics. So I wouldn't say it's a one size fits all at all. You would have to have a very thorough understanding of your user's behavior and psychology and how and their demographic, like if they're teenagers or children or older people. Everybody has a different behavior and a different expectation and a different attention span. So having a very good understanding of what kind of users are expected to come on your platform is what dictates your entire user experience design.
All right, this is interesting. I think now when it comes to building products, I think most people who build products, or most times we take ourselves, we forget some of the frustrations that we experience with other people's products. Okay, so like, oh, I don't know why are you using this product and not this one, and why are you
Yeah.
using this one or not this one, and people don't exactly like, I don't know, I just frustration, and then they don't use that anymore. But then when it comes to building your own, people just focus with all their bright ideas and forget that there are people as well who are going to use this that's not them, and there's some of these touch points that would cause difficulty. Okay, so this leads to the next question. What platform behaviors annoy users the most and can cause them to abandon your products entirely?
There are so many. I mean, think about all the times where you are on your, favorite platform or application, and then suddenly they just change the buttons. And we were talking about this recently, where Instagram just changed the buttons all of a sudden and moved, the story and the messages and the DMs and everything. And it is very frustrating to do that for users because it takes them time to build muscle memory. And once that muscle memory happens, without even noticing, you're going on the application. Sometimes you don't even notice. You just go on Instagram and you just put reels and you don't even notice. But when they change the buttons, you're all of a sudden jolted and you have awareness, and you're pressing on the wrong buttons, and then you're like, oh no, let me go back to the right ones. And that rewiring the muscle memory is very frustrating and very annoying for a lot of people. But this strategy is done on purpose in order to get you to be aware once you're on Instagram again. And they want you to be aware because they want you to be aware of the changes. So these kinds of things can be done by huge platforms like Instagram, YouTube, the iPhone. When you do an update every time, they can afford these kinds of changes. But new founders and new platforms are still building the trust between them and users. So you can't afford to continuously make changes to the user behavior. Once you have the user's muscle memory locked in, you have to keep that for a while until you build that retention with your users. That's number one. Another thing that I always tell users that they have to, founders, that they have to be careful with: don't ask your users for something before you give them something in return. They need to get something first. They need to know if you're worthy of a sign up, if you're worthy of payment, if you're worthy of any of this. So if they don't know you and they don't know your reputation, you can't really ask them to sign up for a newsletter or sign up with your email or any of that or pay early on. You need to give them some sort of freemium in order to convince them that it's worth it to come on.
This is very, very interesting. And there's, I think there was a post you made I saw on LinkedIn where you had talked about the power of um, how customers feel about your product the first time they experience it, and how that experience is very, very vital to, and how that shapes their experience going forward with you if they get to stay or if they get to leave.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very deep psychological experience at play. And I'd like you to talk a bit about that. So the question is, where does psychology fit into user experience?
Psychology is a very critical part of user experience because basically getting users to be loyal to your platform takes a lot of trust building. And trust comes from consistency and repetition of their experience on your application. So if your application has bugs or has some sort of friction, interruption, glitches, and the platforms that are lucky get it reported to them. People report these things, but the ones who are unlucky, a lot of people just abandon it and they never come back. So building that trust in the beginning, having a very strong customer support service where they're responsive, they get back to you. You're doing extremely strong quality testing, quality assurance testing. It's very critical in the beginning. That's why we have beta testing. They test a lot. They see with focus groups, is this smooth? Are there any glitches? I worked in a R&D center before where we used to test each release on so many different smartphones, different kinds, different versions. Some are updated, some are not updated, because we wanted to see where it breaks. And that's part of the quality assurance testing, where you see when the platform breaks. And that's where you have to be careful, because if it breaks with your users, or if your users are not able to get to the destination they want quickly, they'll just abandon it and you will never know. And that's the most dangerous part, where you never know why they're abandoning it.
That is very, very interesting. And I think that this level of experience comes with doing like so much tests and so much experience going through this and seeing these mistakes in real time. That's very, very insightful. We would give some shout out to some of our guests now. We had some new guests. We had Eniola. Eniola said hello. Viola said hello. Guys, I'll use this opportunity to tell you this has been insightful so far. It's time for you to start putting your questions together. So if you have a question for Dania, just write it down, start typing it, start putting it together. We'll have like a few more questions to go, and then we'll quickly jump into your questions. We want to make sure that you get the time to get quality and timely answers from Dania. Please put your questions together so that when we ask, they would be ready. Uh, Rella said she's a okay. This Hamza. Hamdan. Hamdan is a fintech student at Qatar. Hi, Hamdan. So good to see you. Welcome. We have Ryan. Ryan is watching from the Philippines. Hello, Ryan. We have Joe as well. Hello, Joe. Yeah, Daniel, will take some time to give shout outs to our guests.
Hi,
All right.
guys.
Yes. So, my next question for you is let's talk about startups and people who are building startups, okay? And especially like founders. How can early stage startups design credibility into their product when they have no traction or reputation like some of these big guys?
Yeah, that's a really, really tough thing to do. It's a very good question, but it's very tough. And I think a lot of people are trying to still figure it out because building a reputation and credibility in general, it takes consistency and it takes time. And like I said, having a very strong user journey that doesn't glitch and doesn't crash is like the 101 of building any kind of platform, but the quality assurance is the most important one. Now, a lot of early stage startups, what they do is they do the first release, their MVP, they do the first release, and they don't do another release for like a year. And that could be very dangerous because during this year, you're collecting a lot of data. You're collecting data on where it's being abandoned, what the most popular features are, what's working, what's not working. This data has to be used. If it's not being used, then it's getting old. So the standard would be to do a new release every 3 months, but they may not have the budget for it. So I would say try to use that data as much as possible. And don't be afraid to talk about what's not working in your application. Keep the conversation open on your platforms online. In your social media platforms, and keep the conversation open. Have like an open door policy with your users where you're open to the criticism so that you can improve better. That's what I would say, to just keep showing people that you're progressing. The most dangerous thing, and I always tell the teams that I'm working with, the most dangerous thing I've seen is for a startup to have a lot of traction and a lot of progress and success and all of the stuff, and then all of a sudden there's like a dead period where there's not a lot of marketing happening. They don't post a lot. There's no new releases happening with their platforms. So nobody really knows, are they still in business or not? And that's what kind of kills the credibility. So I would say as long as you show that you are progressing, that you are developing, you are taking that user data and putting it to good use, that's the best way to build credibility in the morning, in the beginning.
That's very interesting. Credibility. I think credibility is a very difficult thing to build and very easy to lose, which is
Very.
very tough for people who are building. And so let's talk practicality and principles. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if you could give founders one UX principle to follow before building any tech product, what would it be and why?
One user experience principle to follow. Hmm. I would say always do thorough research. I mentioned it before. You really do need to understand your demographic, and you need to not be attached to your algorithms, to your technology. You have to be very open to shifting paths in your technology. Don't be too attached to whatever you're building because you may have to change it at some point. And I would say validate not only the market need for what you're doing, but validate that the way you're doing it is the best way. Um, for me, if you're doing something that already exists out there and you have competitors, it is extremely critical that your unique selling point is very strong. And I would say that takes a lot of thinking outside the box if you're entering a market that has a lot of competition. So I would say research, data collection, and put it to good use, especially understanding your user. At the end of the day, the spotlight must be on the user, not on yourselves. Saying that you have the best engineers, best solution, best whatever, it's not enough. You have to talk from the perspective of your users. We're offering you this because you don't have access to this right now. Whatever exists out there is not serving you the way that you want it to. It always has to be the spotlight on the user.
That's very, very inciting. To take the attention or give power back to the user to get insights from them that are very, very practical and useful. That's a very interesting strategy. Before we move forward, guys, send in your questions now. We're trying to, after we have like maybe one more question to go, and then we'll take your questions. We already have a question from Adri, but please type in your questions and send them now in the comment section so we can start asking Dr. Dania your question. So, Dr. Dania, this question is very,
I'm not
we did
a
not write
not a doctor. Yeah.
Dania. Okay. So this question is, we didn't write this down. I would like to hear from you. Tell us about a time, something that's happened practically. You have seen it from your experience coaching people and mentoring people, where you see like a product or a startup that had a very great potential, but they fumbled their UI and their UX, and it just caused like them to like maybe fail or did not grow as fast as they could grow. We don't have to hear names, but just sort of like practical steps so people can hear that, oh, this is not just theories, it pretty much affects people who are building products.
This hits right home for me. There was a team that I worked with, and I absolutely believed in them, and I loved their product so much. It was such a good product. I'm not going to say exactly what they do, because just to keep it confidential. But they had such a good idea, and it was really needed, and the whole concept and the brand, everything was very strong, but they were not able to get the revenue model right. The way their payment system was, it was so complicated, and it had so many, it had such a complex structure that the regular user could not make sense of it and could not understand the payment structure very easily, and they got a lot of a lot of people abandoning the app at that point because it was so difficult to understand the credit system and the payment system. And even myself, I found it very difficult to understand the payment system, or the whole idea of this application was to give access easily and on the go for users. And the payment structure was so complex that it would take a while for a user to sit there and calculate what they have to pay for what. So that kind of defeated the whole purpose of the application, of saving them time on the go. And that's where they failed. Everything in the application was going smoothly until they got to the payment, and then it got complicated after that. And at the end of the day, they crashed and burned. And the user data, I imagine, I was not in their, like, I didn't have access to their data, but I imagine that was, as a user, I found that part was the most frustrating part of the application that they had.
That's a very interesting story. Pricing, and that's a very practical and sad story to hear. So it shows that having a great idea is not enough. Having a great idea is good, but you need to find a way to make sure that users are able, you're able to communicate that with the users, and have them understand so they can stay. User stickiness. So my last question for you before we dive into the question people have heard. Now you have to tell us about a time where like you saw this product, maybe like a regular product, not too unique, or maybe even special as well. And then you see the team zero in on their customers, interviews, finding out what their customers liked, more research. What's this button doing here? If you move it here, what happens? Some of the things you've talked about, consistently improving their product. Every 3 months, something new is happening, some updates. They are listening to their customers. Tell us about a time where you see this in play, some of the changes that they implemented and how it affected their product.
And like how it was improved.
Yes, so the way you gave us, like we talked about this example where there was a decline when they did not apply all these principles. So tell us about like another experience as well that you have, no names mentioned, where like they did all these things that you mentioned and then how it affected their product.
Hmm. I would say one of the examples that I worked on was that they started off as an application where it was a GPS based application, and it was very basic. It gave like locations and things like that. But they noticed that in Qatar, for example, that there was a parking problem during FIFA, and that they wanted to solve that problem. This is something Waze and Google Maps and none of those were able to solve. But because they had access to Qatar, they were able to pinpoint the best parking places in the public areas in Qatar. And this is something that was a need for users. And even though it wasn't the main feature of what they're doing, but this feature alone got them on the map in FIFA during that time in Qatar. And I really would like to promote this application. It's called WAN. It's a GPS system based system in Qatar, and it's the same concept as Google Maps or Waze, but it's for Qatar.
That's very interesting. I never heard about this product before. I like to hear more. I like to even meet the team behind it. It's very, very insightful. Okay. Thank you so much for such insightful session. I think we'll take questions from our guests now. We'll take questions from our guests. So we'll have a question from Ajiri. So Ajiri is asking, how does a startup with an early stage MVP that breaks a lot manage user retention?
If it breaks a lot, it's probably not going to manage the user retention very well. I would say go back to the building stage and try to fix the glitches and the bugs before you give another release or market it again. Because the problem is, if users try it and abandon it, it's more dangerous than users never hearing about it. So I would say try to fix where it's breaking before you even market it at that point.
All right, insightful, Adria. I hope that answers your question. We have a question from Joe. So Joe is asking, do users trust brands more because of good design, or do they perceive good design because they have already trust the brand?
That's a very good question. Very, very good question. It's like the chicken and the egg.
Yes.
I would say it's a bit of both, and it depends. So brands are strong not only because of design. So a design alone doesn't make a brand. A belief system and a vision is what makes a brand. Lifestyle is what makes a brand. So the design alone is not enough. There's a lot more that goes into a brand than just design. Design is what visualizes the brand. The brand has a certain identity from the design, but the brand is a lot deeper and a lot more complex than just the design. So I would say the brand is what's more important, and then when then the design comes after that.
All right, that's okay. Chindu, I hope that as Joseph, I hope that answers your question. I think we have another interesting question from Nishola. I think this question, we all see this notification pop up on applications. Do you enjoy using our app now? So I think Nishola's question is, when does it feel right for me to ask my users if they feel safe using my product?
If, I would say right away. If your product is ready, I would roll it out right away to users. Don't wait for it to be perfect. As long as it doesn't break in the most critical areas of the user journey, roll it out right away. And you can always tell them that this is a soft launch or a beta testing, or they're early adopters. Give them that feeling that they have exclusive access to being early adopters to your product, and tell them that you would like to hear their feedback. So give them a hashtag or an email or something that they can send their feedback to, so they can feel very heard in the beginning. And I would say as long as it doesn't have any big breaks during the main user journey, you can roll it out right away.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions we can take today, guys. Timmy Tokpe is excited. Says thank you, Dania. This has been insightful. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dania, we have to, before we go, you have to tell us, in conclusion, what is one lesson we have to take home today, if we have to just write down, or what is one last thing where we have to take note as people who are building startup products, or people who are working in startup companies and looking to build products that way? What's one advice you have for us?
What I like to say is we have to be a lot more aware of our user journey, even as users ourselves, in order to understand the user experience as founders. Think about it just like, for example, in hospitality, they understand user experience and user journey very well. In hospitality, you go into a hotel, you have the lobby, everything is designed. Your whole experience is designed. You go into the lobby, there's a certain scent, they welcome you in a certain way. There are sometimes welcome drinks. You go through the foyer area to the elevators. There's flowers everywhere. That is all by design. You get to your hotel room. There's a welcome note. There's your name on the TV. All of that is designed. The whole user journey is designed as a guest in a hotel, and it's the same experience when it comes to your platform. You have to design the entire experience from the minute they download your application or even see the application icon in the App Store or the Google Play Store. That's when you start your design, and until the end of their journey, their destination, the whole experience has to be designed. Think about it just like hospitality. In a hotel room, you don't just directly go to your room and that's it and close the door. There's a whole experience and feeling that you have as you get to the point of your hotel room door.
That's a very simple and easy way for everyone to think about building their products and the user experience. Thank you so much for such insightful session, Dania. Very quickly, you have to tell us how can some of our guests connect with you in case they have more questions. I'd like to reach out to you. What's the best way to reach you? I know you're on LinkedIn, but please over to you.
The best way to reach me is through my LinkedIn. I'm very responsive. If anyone wants to follow me or connect with me, send me DMs. I'm very responsive. So I would say that's probably the best way. And I'll be rolling out some Calendly appointments if anyone wants to book any soon, probably within the next week. So they can book any consultations if they need it.
All right. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you here. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing your advice with us. Have a great rest of your day and your year, Tanya. Bye for now.
I thanks a lot.
Yes. All right, guys, that was a very insightful session. We are grateful that you stuck here with us today. We're happy that you stayed to the end. We'll hope that this has been very insightful for you and your team. Always come back, look at some of the stuff. We have so much materials. If this is the first episode, you have this like 11 others. You have to watch how to raise $1 million, what it means to win in business and your startup product. There's so many insightful sessions, and this is what we do. In case you are here and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you are very, very wrong. So just look at your YouTube. There's somewhere you see subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, guys. We need you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep growing and so you can get all these timely materials and content when they come. For us at Builders Tribe, you can follow us on all our socials or Builders Tribe HQ. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We are everywhere. Okay. And well, you can visit our website. We have some cool stuff there. We have so many events that we are working on. We have great events coming up in the new year. Thank you so much once again for doing this with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we hope you have a good rest of your year. And we hope that you have a beautiful, beautiful 2026. So let me officially be the first to wish you a happy new year. All right. We hope this was great for you and do have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bring that joy.